If you think the people that believe the opposite of what you believe are really suffering, do you think that saying something like they subscribe to a kooky narrative of lies is something that's going to like flip a switch in their head and think, oh, okay, maybe Michael's right and I can change my ideology? Or do you think that it puts them into a position defending their ego or their idea of who they are that maybe it wouldn't be productive to defend in the first place? Because I think like if you're really trying to convince the other side, coming at it from an angle of being like, I understand your plight, I understand the way that you suffer, and I understand your argument entirely, and I respect you for having said opinions, right? But I have my own and these are what they are, rather than from a more aggressive angle, because I see these kind of like these debate, like aggressive undertones, which I see in everybody, right? The left and the right, 100%. But I do wonder to bring people into the center in some capacity, right? It is better, I feel like, to not be super aggressive and say that the other person's agenda and narrative is just like, you know, ideologically inferior. Like to a supreme degree, right? Especially something that so many people subscribe to.
Yeah, I don't think so. It depends on the context. So you're saying in these debate scenarios, sometimes people get aggressive. Yeah, that's a debate. You know, a debate is not when you're sitting with a loved one trying to persuade them of something. A debate is when you and an opponent are standing on stage. You both have fixed views. You will not convince the other person. That's not your job. You're not allowed to convince the other person. You know, they are there to defend their view. You are there to defend the other view. You are trying to persuade the audience. And so the way to persuade the audience, the people kind of in the middle, I think is through clarity. I think always clarity is charity, but especially during a time of debate. Now, if I were speaking to a trans-identifying person, as I have many times, I would speak very differently. There I'm not having a public debate. There I'm trying to figure out, okay, what has led you to this error? So that I can go in and correct that error. For different people, it's going to be different things. For some people, it might be they fell down a Tumblr rabbit hole on the internet. I talked to one trans detransitioner who did that. For someone else, it might be a childhood problem or a sexual trauma that they'd had. That's often the case. For some, it might be an undiagnosed medical condition like autism. I talked to a girl who nearly transitioned because her doctors told her that she was, or other doctors had told her that she was the opposite sex. And then fortunately, her doctor and her family and her priest said, no, that's not how reality works. And they found out she had undiagnosed autism, and now she feels a lot better. So it depends on who you're talking to.
But even calling it necessarily like an error is kind of attacking somebody's belief of who they are, their identity. And I think like...
No, it's attacking their belief.
Of who they are, their identity, right? Saying that like your entire identity is an error, because to them it's their identity,
that they are in error about their identity. That's true, but it's not attacking their true identity. It's not attacking them. I guess that's the distinction.
But to them, that is them.
But they're
right?
wrong. Yeah, and you can't convince someone they're wrong by telling them they're right.
Right, of course not. But I'm just saying to call something an error when someone
what should we call it?
A situation, maybe. I don't know.
What kind of situation?
I guess it could be like attacking someone's religion, where like that's what they believe.
I
think that if anything, it's going to ramp up their side of the argument. It's going to make them angry and defending their position even more. I don't think it's going to spur actual change.
If I felt that there was something really wrong or bigoted or mean-spirited or something about my statement that men and women are different, which everyone everywhere has believed for all of history until 5 minutes ago, then I might soft pedal it. So I have nothing but love and charity for them. And part of that charity is telling them honestly what I think. I mean, you just mentioned that it's sort of like attacking someone's religion. Uh-huh. It's not sort of, it's exactly like attacking someone's religion. They have a belief about human nature, how man relates to the world, to himself, how the body relates to the soul, that is fundamentally wrong. In fact, where I will give the pro-transgender people a little bit of credit is they have an advantage over the modern liberal materialists. The modern liberal materialists who say, you're just your body, you're a bag of chemicals, love is fake, everything in your head is just an illusion caused by firing synapses, and when you die, you turn to worm food and take a dirt nap, right? That's the modern materialist view. The pro-trans people say, no, I'm not just my body. They go too far. They say, I'm not my body at all. But they recognize at least that there is a metaphysical component. Sometimes they fall into error and into liberal materialism again, where they'll say, my true transgender identity is on a brain scan. I have the brain of a woman, but the body of a man. But of course, your brain is part of your body, so they don't really understand that. What they're trying to talk about is the mind. What they're trying to talk about is the soul. They can say, my body, including my brain, could be entirely male, but I am at a deeper level female. And that's actually closer to the truth of the matter, which is they're saying, I have a soul. And they do have a soul. But then the question is, what is the relation of the soul to the body? Can the soul and the body really be in opposition? Or, and by soul they use the term gender identity, or is your soul the substantial form of your body, which is the matter? And does your sex and your gender identity derive from the soul or from matter? And the fact is, the great thinkers who have ever walked the earth have actually discussed these questions. There is an answer to these things. But because our education system is so extraordinarily weak now, very few people have ever read, maybe have even heard of someone like a Thomas Aquinas or an Aristotle or Plato. They don't read these things anymore. And so they're left totally confused on the questions. But there is an answer, and I think that is a lot more comforting. There's a great tapestry called the Bio Tapestry that depicts the Battle of Hastings, 1066. One of the most famous scenes from it is this guy with a funny hat holding a stick, beating these soldiers who are running at him. And it says, here Bishop Odo, holding a stick, comforts the boys. So it comforts. Bishop Odo was not able to fight in the battle, the bishop, but he had a stick. And when his retreating men were coming at him, he hit them with the stick and said, go back into the battle. Go back and fight. And the Bio Tapestry, one of the most famous pieces of Western art, says he was comforting them, because to comfort is to give strength. And I think the way you give strength is by telling people the truth and putting them on a path that will be conducive to their flourishing and happiness. That's the traditional view. The traditional view in our civilization is the truth sets you free and lies will deceive you and lead to death. The way the modern libs talk about it is that they want you to believe that lies will set you free. Oh, just let them live in their lies. Who cares? It doesn't harm you. It doesn't hurt your bottom line. Just it makes them happy. That the truth can be so harsh and cruel and actually harm people. It's a total inversion of reality.